All right, so I'm going to be introducing the Scribbler EA, and then we'll be looking at a few of the function and some of the parameters that one needs to change. All right, so once you load the Scribbler EA to your chart, you're going to get something like this. I'm just going to take a trade, and then we'll go into the settings to trade. So let's say you come to your chart, and then you see something like this. GU expecting to sell GU, and then GU takes out the Asian high and then gives you this kind of candle, right? So let's dive into it. So first thing you need to do, want to change this to sell, right? So once you click on sell or you click on buy, two lines appear on your screen, right? You could see this purple line called the OB high. That's if you're selling, or if you're buying, you'll see it as the OB low, and then there's the OB line, right? So since we're selling, we're going to change it to sell. So you're going to take this OB high, that's a purple line, to the high uh, of the block, or the high of the day, or the high of the week, depending on what way you want to sell from, right? So the highest points from where you're selling from, and then you are going to take this to where you want your entry to be, ideally, right? So let's zoom in a bit so we can see that more clearly. All right, so we're looking at this day, and what we would have been looking at is this other block right here, right? So we then see price close below it, right? So let's imagine if we wanted to take a trade of this, right? So maybe when we form this, I wanted to take this particular trade, maybe this candle was still forming, and we either don't want to wait on our chart, or we are on our chart but want to take trade automatically. We don't want to be drawing our fibs and then putting different things in place. Then we could actually take the trade like this. So now this is where a few of the functions comes in. At the moment, the EA is not on, so it's not going to take any trade. So that is one of the features. So it allows you to set everything you want to set before on the EA. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you have two buttons here. One is the auto trade, and the next one is the OB trade. So the OB trade, a trade will only be taken, or pending orders will only be set when price closes below the OB line, right? So pending orders will only be set, trades will only be taken, because sometimes price can close below it and then gap up. All right, so in that case, it will just do an instant execution sell. But if price is still below this, and it's going to set pending orders right here, right? So in that case, you need to have your OB trade on. Now, let's say you're trading, have a different way of trading. For instance, there's some ways we trade in the FXP codes where we're not waiting for this order block to form like this. All right, you're not waiting for a close below this low and to take our trades, right? So in that case, what you can do is to say, once this closes, so you are sure that once this closes, you're going to get an entry, then you want your auto trade to be on. So what that does is that once this candle closes, then it's going to take this trade. Right, so once this candle closes, it's going to take the trade. All right, so before I on it, I want to go to the properties, because there's some things I need to modify to make sure that we don't wait endlessly. So the trade seek frequency, right, is set to 30 minutes, right? Let's change that to 1 minute so that it can take, we are not on this video for too long. Swing start time is set to 8 a.m. because I'm recording much earlier. I'm going to set this to 7, and I'm also going to set this to 7. All right, so the other distance, the end time, no problem. So the next thing you need to add there is the SL addition percentage. All right, so when you look at this block, or yeah, let's look at this as a block from here to here as a block, right? And then you want to give room for your SL. So what amount of this block should we add to the top here as your SL? So usually what we do in the FX, because we use 50% of this zone, all right, to add to the top as a, so you could change it to be 10%, 20%, whatever you want to use, depending on how you trade, right? So okay, the next thing that we have there is the minimum SL. So your minimum SL is regardless of what the block says where your SL should be, it's usually good to have some rules around the minimum SL you're ever going to use for a particular pair. So for us in the FX, because we use 10 pips for EU, or let's say 10 pips for pairs that are less than 150 pips, the weekly ETR is less than 150 pips, and then 15 pips for the SL if the pair is more than 150 pips and but below 300. Anything above 300, then you want to be using like 20 pips as your minimum SL. Now, the next option there is use maximum SL. So by default, that is set to true. So what that basically does is it tries to check when your SL is too large, right? So if your SL is too large, then it's not going to allow the trade to go through. And how that basically functions is it looks at the weekly range, right? It looks at, or rather the daily range, but in a way of trying to compare to the weekly range. So the weekly range is usually about 2.2 daily ETR. You could go do your findings or you find something around that figure. So it's usually about 2.2 the daily ETR. So what we're trying to do is if our TP3 or if our second TP, that's this your TP2, right? We want to ensure that our TP2 is hit before we get to that number, right? So we want to ensure that by the time we do one weekly expansion, right, our TP2 is already hit. So if you don't want to use that particular function, you can just turn it off, right, and set it to false. At least leave it as true, personally. Then the risk per position. So it's going to take two trades, right? It's going to open two positions. So you need to be mindful of that. So if you leave this at 0.5, what you're invariably doing is that you're risking 1% on the trade, right? So it's going to open two positions of 0.5, 0.5. Now, the next thing you have there is the entry allowance. Now, sometimes you've seen a situation where price closes below this block and then it doesn't exactly come back to a major mistake by like 0.2 pips and all that. So to avoid that, we create something called an entry allowance. All right, so you could change this in pips. So you could change this to whatever you want. So it could be 0.5 pips, it's this, it could be 1 pip, it could be 2 pips, it could be whatever you want it to be. Then the next thing you need to set is the TP1 percentage, right? So when it's 100 like this, it basically means 1 hour. TP2 set to 300 basically means 3 hours. Now let's assume you just want to take one position, right? You want to take the way you trade, you take one position, but the EA is supposed to take two trades. So what do you do? What you can do is to set both your TP1 and your TP2 to the same thing. So let's say you just target 3 hours for your trades, no breaking. So what you will do is, if what you want to do is risk 1% on the trade, then instead of just risking 1%, then you take 0.5, 0.5, two trades, and your TP is set to 300 on both TP1, TP2. So it virtually does the same job for you. All right, so that is basically things you should. Okay, then we have max slippage. So if it's going to be taking a market execution trade, you can specify the maximum slippage you are willing to tolerate. So by default, it's set to 1 pip. All right, so the OB shift and the period current, just leave it as this. You could change the magic number to whatsoever thing you want it to be, right? And that is that about that. So we click on OK, and then we turn on the EA. In about 1 minute, less, we're going to see a trade actually appear right here. So just wait for that. All right, so you can see that right up there. So you've seen taking the trade, sell limit 0.2, the TP1, TP2, your SL is placed 50% above that. So it's that simple. It's that simple. It's simple. Basically, that's all you need to do. All right, to be able to use the EA. So we'll take a buy example and then call it a wrap on this. All right, so let's go to UCHF. So just switch this off. All right, so when you switch it off, the lines basically disappear from your charts, right? So those certain lines and all that. All right, so let's go to UCHF. Let me take this off. That doesn't, all right, so let's say you come to your chart on the 2nd of January, and then the share low is taken, and you want to take your trades of that. All right, so again, just go to settings so that we're not here forever. So 1 minute, okay. This already corrected to that. Myself and behaves. This max is true. Questions of 5, all that and all that. All right, so I think we are good here. Don't want to buy. Yes, we want be trade on. So you need to click on this. Even if you want to buy, you need to click on this. That's one of just don't just get around it because I didn't want the lines to just appear once the E is loaded. So once you click on this, just click on it again to get the lines. And then the OB low, you're going to drag it to the loads and then drag this to high. That's bearish candle, right? So this gives you your zone. So again, set OB trade to true. Even if I don't turn on the auto trade, you see, still take the trade. Because the auto trade is supposed to be something like if this is supposed to be your entry. So you want at the close of this candle, then your the EA should take the trade. Then that's when you use auto trade. So, but most times, what you're going to be using, Jane, for most of us, I'm sure it's going to be the OB trade. Then you could simply do something like this. So don't worry about activating the two of them. The way the EA works, the auto trade will only work if it is below this line, right? So this candle closes below this line, but your auto trade is on, then to automatically take the trade, right? So don't worry about it taking like so many trades because both OB and auto trade activating the pathways are dissimilar, right? They are completely different pathways. Both of them cannot take trades exactly at the same time. All right. So once I do that, I'm going to on this. Right, I'm ready. So just a couple of about 1 minute or less. You can see trades appear right here, and then your SL and all that should be fixed to where it should be. Right. So let's look at that. It's taking a long 1 minute. Right. All right, there we go. So at the end of the 1 minute, so it works with the 1 minute candles. When the 1 minute candle is done, so that's you need to set that from your trade frequency. If you want to look for trades at the completion of a 30-minute candle, you could even set it to the current chart if that is what you want. So remember, we set that from trade frequency. All right, that's for your OB. Your auto trade automatically works with the current chart. It's not looking at lower charts or whatever. It works with the current chart. So the reason why this, well, I'm just forget about it. Just know that, so you prepare with that. So your entry right there, right, by limit 0.25. So it does the risk sizing automatically for you. And all that SL placed below that TP1, TP2, and this would have been a successful trade. So that's basically how the Scribbler EA works. It's supposed to be a bit like the executioner where you have the lines, and all that, but then it's a bit more automated. So you are not the one that's going to come click on the execute buttons and all that. You could just set it up and then go to whatever else you want to do and then come back to your charts maybe every 30 minutes or that, and not be so worried about missing your entries and all that. So that is what this is for basically. I hope you find it useful. So the Scribbler EA, like I mentioned, it's going to be available for everyone. The FXP group, everyone who is in the Heroes group, that's those who have ever done the fostering program in time past. This EA is going to be available to them for free. Should April, I might extend it, I might not, but here April 30 is going to be available free to every one of such people. For those who are not there who want to get the EA, probably by the end of the month might be available. Anyway, I'll see what that will be available, whether before the end of the month or at the end of the month. Is going to be available in the Trade Experts website for whoever that wants to get it. It's going to be at a reduced price till the end of uh, April, May, thereabouts. I don't know when I say it's going to be at a reduced price. It's going to be at a reduced price until then. Of course, after then, the price is really going to go up and all that. But the execution is the price will generally remain $100 and below. I don't want it to be too expensive. All right, so that's basically that about the Scribbler EA. I'm going to be talking about another EA, another video called Total EA. But that's more for our in-house, develop more for those in the FSP course and some of the things we're doing and all that. All right, so let me know your thoughts on the Scribbler EA and what you think about it.